Okay.
If there's something that needs clarification on, ask.
Gotcha.
Whoa! Your bus just peed on me.
Yeah, I forgot. Sorry. There's ice on the roof here, and it's going to be melting. I've known about it, but I never really paid attention. You know, I knew Richard Kimbrough, and he talked about it. He was always Shasta Snow Trip, and it just went in one ear and out the other, and I didn't think much about it.
Yeah, so there's
I was involved in plenty.
as long as on the internet on YouTube, there's the famous flying pamper that had web infamy.
Yeah, and I had seen those
so I had
too.
seen those videos, and then pamper went for sale several years ago, and that got me. I was interested, but I had just acquired a bunch of other Volkswagens right before that, and I couldn't validate, buying another one so which I'm glad I didn't, because then I got, the other bus recently that will be my bus. But yeah, I knew about it years ago, but it really came up on the radar just a few years ago when I met Lance. And then when I learned his connection to the event, or, the trip, Shasta Snow Trip, then it just kind of really got me that much more interested. And then Steve met those guys this summer.
It was the same time, but I got to know them over the summer because I just started attending some of the local Volkswagen shows, and they were always there, of course,
So, once they understood that he had a split, then they were on him, really bugging him.
They were trying to rope me in.
Lance has been trying to rope me in for the last few years, but I still didn't have a split. So it was a little different because he's trying to rope me in and get me to get a split where you already had a split. So once they learned that you had a split, they were really roping you in.
Yep.
And then that lit the fire under Steve's butt.
Yeah.
And
yeah, follow me. Don't be scared.
And then Steve says, I'm going to go. And I'm like, well, that leaves me out because I don't have one yet. And he said, well, you can jump in. So.
And the rest is history.
The rest is last week's history.
That's right.
What were you expecting going in?
I didn't know what to expect. I was just trying to prepare for whatever might get thrown my way, and I had gotten some tips, that kind of clued me in as to this is not, just a standard drive to the beach. This is, something a little more aggressive. The first thing was you got to get a mid mount on your transmission. You can't rely on just the stock mounts. You got to get that, I'm like,
and I wonder how many of the 39 buses that were there this trip actually have that.
I would guess at least half of them. Because, most of those people were in the know. They've done it before.
Sure.
They've probably broken mounts, maybe on the trip even. And I've broken mounts before, just not doing that.
For me, there was nothing of the trip that wasn't what I expected or didn't anticipate. So but that doesn't mean it didn't disappoint, or that it did disappoint, because it didn't disappoint. I'm still ear to ear grin over it, even though it's exactly what I anticipated, expected, and that's why I went, because I knew what I was getting into, even as a passenger. And there was times where, Steve reminded me, like, hey, I don't have to drive this whole time. Like, you can drive too. And I was just stoked to just be a passenger. And anytime that I would have jumped in the driver's seat, I would have been taking less photo, video. And I mean, I shot over 900 frames, and I don't need that. I mean, a lot of it was just, kind of rapid fire, knowing that, we're bouncing around in the bus, and, a rapid fire, and I'm going to get one good one maybe. So, I've been going through those the last few days, and, I'm going to have a fraction of it left over. And I've already posted pretty much, the gems. So
you got some good ones too.
But I enjoyed that. And as someone that used to practice photography a lot, and don't, that was something that my soul was missing and needed. So like to leave that be so that I could maybe drive for an hour or two or a few or whatever. No, I was happy just shooting footage.
And you won't get the same experience next year when you got yours out there.
But Jonah's supposed to be my co-pilot. That was kind of promised since 3-4 years ago when I decided that eventually I'm going to get there. and I'll hold to that, and I hope that he goes. He's someone that, one, enjoys taking photography, video, and is good at it and has a good eye. So I'm excited to have a replacement in him as a co-pilot that's also going to do the duty of photographer. And I'm excited for that.
And if I get Kalen on board, you know, as a co-pilot, he's got experience in photography. So that'll be great.
Yeah.
So I wasn't planning to do a trip like this. I was getting the bus geared up for not daily driving, you know, weekend warrior status. I built a big motor for it. It was fast. I was still changing things, trying to, you know, get it good. And then when Shasta came up, I'm like, I can't put that engine through this because it was a lot of new parts, a lot of used, very difficult to find parts. So the prep that I did was, well, first of all, I threw together an engine that I already had, made it a 1776, kept the single port heads. I put the mid mount in right away. That was one of the first things because it was suggested. But I wanted, you know, the reason I did the 1776 is because I wanted just a little more torque to be able to, you know, do climbs or whatever. And I knew I was going to have aggressive tires. And so I built that. And then I also got a 37 pick carburetor, one of those Chinese cheapies from eBay, and thought, oh, well, it's a good opportunity to try this out for the first time, you know, see if it gives me a little extra. And it does a little bit. But it performed well. I used that the whole time. We were preparing for water crossings. One of the things that we saw from the videos from last year was a lot of water crossings and a lot of buses stalling in the water and having to get pulled out. So, you know, we found some tubing and stuff we could connect to keep the water out.
To make snorkels.
Snorkels for the intake, snorkel for the exhaust, because if your engine stops in the water, it's going to go in the exhaust. So I had that stuff ready to go if we encountered that. And I sealed up the distributor because I knew if water gets in the distributor, it quits running. So
and this year there was no river crossings because there was just an overabundance of snow compared to other years. So
that stuff's under the seat still.
Yeah. So any places where there could have been the opportunity to cross the river, they were just raging because of the rain and the snow and all that. So every year the routes seem to be a little different, and so this year's routes took us away from potential river crossings because of the amount of snow.
Well, speaking of the route, what is Shasta Snow Trip? Getting to it.
There's not a direct route. They pick something different every time, and that gets changed because you run into obstacles. Sometimes you got to turn around, find a different route.
So, the start points can change, and we don't know all the factors. This is the only time we've gone. So just based on what we observed, the first evening when everybody gathered together before the official start day, the guys that were, kind of trying to map out a route, were still up to the minute, considering forecasts and current conditions and looking at potential routes. So even all the way up to the minute, there was nothing that was, pre-planned. It's just all kind of on the fly that moment. And every day after, it was like, well, we'd like to go this way, but we got to consider the weather. And nope, now we got to go this way instead. And then one of the nights where we wanted to camp, we get there and it's just totally blocked off with boulders. So then we had to find a new place to camp at the suggestion of a local who just kind of stopped by because he saw all the buses and go, what the heck is this? What are you guys doing?
Was very fortunate.
And we were like, well, we're going to try to camp here, but now we don't know. And he says, well, just go this way 8 miles and there's this river bar. And that actually worked out
it was perfect.
Yeah,
there's plenty of space.
It worked out better than I think the planned spot, or I should say the hoped for spot, since nothing's really planned.
But
the snow trip, the idea is to stay off pavement as much as possible and specifically avoid 5 and 101. And I think we did avoid 5 all entirely. We did hit 101, I believe, for a little bit. So we made it to the coast, and then it was, the end goal is to get to Shasta City. And so then it was finding a path there that can avoid pavement as much as possible.
Yeah. And before we went on the trip, I actually thought we'd be driving on roads on Shasta. And that never happened. We saw it.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah. And because the snow was so heavy this year, there was a fair amount of pavement driving, but we found snow where we could, and dirt and mud and snow together.
The variety of conditions are
even the time on the
extreme.
pavement, there was some pretty heavy rain.
Yep.
After rerouting when we had to turn around, that was an 8-hour day in the snow just to end up back where we started, and then do another 6 hours redirected the long way. I say the long way around because, miles on the pavement, it's longer, but time-wise through the mountain pass would have been longer. But it was another 6 hours to wrap around. And at that point, we're just dealing with rain and it's on pavement, but this is 6 hours of rain on pavement after we just did 8 hours in the snow. So, had the rain been the top of the day, maybe it wasn't so bad, but now we're rain, dark, and we're tired. And so it was something to combat too, I think. So it was a wide variety of conditions, no matter what the pavement was.